We're going to make it a lot of fun.
And we are live on Facebook
Awesome. We're
as
live on
well.
Facebook, and Kim will be joining me in just a second here on Instagram. I know it takes a little while for both of us to show up because that's just how this technology works. Here you are, my friend.
Hi.
How are you?
Good. Okay. Let's
All right.
see.
And now I'm going to join you.
Mm, mm,
Do you want to tell
mm.
our listeners again about our sexy topic today?
Yes. Sorry guys, okay. Our topic today is spliced drapery hardware. So I know it's an important topic. It's one that there are a couple of nudgy details that go with it and things that you have to kind of consider that we're going to go through. Mistakes that I know I have made in the past with, tall high rise buildings. So we'll get there. So it's definitely something that you want to consider when specing certain hardware for your project. But if you are working with a window treatment professional like Vita and myself, these are the kinds of things that we will take on, the kind of details that we take on for you. So we take all that guesswork and all that pressure off your
We sure do. So let's start by talking about telling our listeners what is spliced drapery rod to begin with. Like, what is it specifically that we're talking about? So, how would you define it, Kim?
The way that I would define a spliced drapery rod is basically it's a rod that had to be cut in half, whether it was due to length for shipping or how much window or that we needed the rod to expand, and one 8-foot run or a 6-foot run or even a 12-foot run wouldn't cover.
Mhm.
So basically, the rod is cut in a certain location. Generally, it's cut in the center. There's a center splice, and then it is connected. The two rods are connected with a splice piece. So, a piece like so. So, that piece that you're seeing there in the middle, in between the two rods, this is what that is. So, basically,
And I have
the
one as well. Both Kim and I
yes.
have the same toys today.
So basically, what happens is this is what connects the two rods together.
And I would even say that I agree with you
Mm.
100%. In 95% of the time, the splice is usually done in the center of the rod. And in probably the other maybe 5% or so, it is possible to splice the rod not in the center. It just depends when you need that cut to happen. And what I want are you guys to understand also that splice, we're using the word splice, both as a verb and as a noun.
Mhm.
So this is a splice piece. So this is a noun. This is what the splice looks like. And also as a verb, when we say to splice a rod, that means that the rod is cut, like Kim was saying, either in half or elsewhere, and then is put together. So in order for the two rods to stay together, to be connected, this little piece is put inside it. So essentially the rod goes here and the rod goes here. And the reason for that is so that by some weird chance, some accident, or for whatever other reason that the universe decides to do it, the rods don't come apart and essentially fall down.
Mhm.
This is the piece that holds it together, just like this. And there's usually a seam then between the two rods. And then what happens is that the bracket then holds it up. So in case you're wondering, well, like, how is it that the two rods um,
Don't fall.
don't fall down and levitate in the air? No, they don't. They don't levitate. They actually have a bracket that is holding them up. So, and then
Now,
another thing that I wanted to show you real quick there's a picture of a splice cover. And what that means is when the two rods come together and there is a seam right here, some people like to put a cover over it so that they don't see the seam itself. Um, Personally, I don't love it because it kind of creates, you don't like it either?
I hate it. I don't think I've ever used it.
Yeah, we've used it. Mhm.
It's like calling attention to a zit. Stop.
Exactly. That's exactly it. It's like having a set, and instead of just gently powdering, you
It's like
putting a huge like band-aid on it.
no one's going to see the splice that high up. It's so thin. I promise you.
Yes.
Stop.
Yes,
It's
exactly.
it's ugly. It is so ugly.
We have used it a couple of times, and essentially it's like a cuff. You know, like you have a rod. Not that this is a rod, this is a splice, but if this were a rod, I don't have one right now. You just like add another thing on top of it, and
Mhm.
just like Kim said, you just totally are calling attention to it. Um, and so the couple of times that we did use it, I decided that that's not something that I think we're going to use going forward.
No.
And as a matter of fact, we were just doing an install yesterday, and with one spliced rod, well, actually no, with a whole bunch, but there's one particular one that I told Beat, I'm like, should we have gotten a cover? And that's exactly what she said. She's like, no, nobody will see it. It's so high up, and that seam is really.
So thin.
It's very thin. It's barely noticeable. The ceilings now are 9, 10 feet up high, and so it is practically impossible to see anything. So sometimes I feel like we may overthink things a little bit, and there's really no. Listen, there's plenty to think about in the window treatment business. But and so if there's a chance to not overthink something, this would be this opportunity.
Yeah, I'm looking at the ceiling mounted ripple fold rod that I have here from JF. And
Hmm.
I'm like, this is spliced. And because it's ceiling mounted and there's a ceiling clip, there's obviously no bracket to, cover the splice. And I'm like, oh, where is the splice? And I'm like, oh, okay, there it is. But like, you can't even see it.
You can't
So
see it
no,
exactly. Yeah.
yeah.
All right, let's show some actual situations where that's done.
So, okay. So in this situation, we have a lot going on here. We have elbows, we have a splice. So directly in the center there, you're going to see where that center bracket is on that back wall between the center pair of panels. There is a splice there. Um,
Mhm.
I don't remember this project. Oof, is probably about a good 10 years old that I did for someone's primary bedroom. And we could not get, obviously, a run that wide.
Mhm.
So we did have to splice the rod there in the center. Also, another reason why is this was up in their primary bedroom. It was a client here in Livingston. So can you imagine trying to carry a 12-foot rod up someone's stairwell without knocking into something, knocking into a chandelier,
Yeah.
or whatever the case is when you're dealing with any kind of client? You want to go in and out and kind of be like a little ninja. Like they don't even know that you were there.
Right.
So you have to take those things into consideration and in mind. Where the splicing here was definitely important because I wasn't going to get a rod that was that wide.
Mhm.
Also, another reason why you opt to splice rods is for shipping,
Mhm.
because to pay for a rod that's over 9 feet, the freight alone on that is disgusting. Like there
So
was,
anything over, let's talk, what do you hear from FedEx and UPS? Is it anything over 96 inches now?
well, it's a lot of companies that we deal with, like Helzer Brothers. It's any rod that's over 104 inches has to be
Mm.
spliced because it has to do with a couple things. The way the vendor packages the rods. So, however much foam they add at the ends, what they do with their tubes,
Mhm.
if they have tubes that are prefabbed, what the agreement is that they have with the different shipping companies. So,
Yep.
from vendor to vendor, it varies. But I did have a situation probably, I want to say again, about 10 years ago, where decorative traverse rods were just starting to hit the market. So you didn't have to use the Kirsch rods. And it
Mhm.
was an elderly couple. So they wanted it to just be a cord system. And
Mhm.
I think the rod wall, and we were going wall to wall in their living room. And it was a double rod. So fun, fun, fun. And so it was about a little shy of 11 feet,
Mhm.
and they couldn't splice the rod because it was a corded rod. It was the whole thing. So it had to come freight. And then it was
It was a while ago because you can splice corded rods now.
decorative corded rods. Yeah, no, this is what I'm talking about. Like when they were one of the first, it was
First,
that.
yeah, gotcha,
Yeah,
gotcha,
this
gotcha.
was
Yep,
10 years ago.
yep.
So then it was okay, great. They live in an apartment building, like a 3-story condo building, 55 and
Yeah,
over community. How
right.
are we getting this up there? And luckily, they were only on the second floor. And so Billy and Carlos figured out, okay, let's put ladders outside, and you hoist it up from the outside, and I'm going to pull it in
Really,
from the
that's what they
inside,
did.
from the
Did,
sliding glass door in the kitchen. Like it was wild, the MacGyver moves that had to happen. So, and they were just like, you really couldn't splice this? I said, listen, I begged and pleaded, like center splice it. My installer
Mhm.
will put it back together. Like Humpty Dumpty will go back together. It will work fine. And they just said, no, we can't splice it. So
I have to say, in the 17 years of being in this business, I have never yet had to hoist anything up through the window. And I'm
oh,
just like praying and hoping that that moment never comes.
now we have experienced that because of awnings, because of the awning side. So we've had to like pull our trucks up under people's decks, second floor decks, because they didn't want us coming. Like we've had to MacGyver things, or even chairs, getting a chair out of someone's shore house. We from the third
Like an
floor.
upholstered chair.
Uh-huh, because
Yeah.
they bought the house with the furniture, and Carlos figured out a way to rope it from the top, and they roped it down to the ground. So, like, I was like, "Okay, we can figure out how to get this
That's
rod up
just
to the
crazy.
second
I mean,
floor."
like the harness of it, but we digress.
Yeah. So, like, these are the kinds of things that if you're a window treatment professional and you're starting out in this industry, these are the kinds of things that you sometimes have to give pushback to the vendor and say, "Well, I'm not going to be able to get this into the room or the space." And there's going to be another slide here coming up, and I'm going to tell you there are times that I argue with the my hardware department that makes my non-decorative rods a lot of times. What,
Yeah,
well, if you splice it, I'm like, it's a center draw, stop it, make it, like, leave me
right.
alone. Like,
Yeah.
are you bringing it up? No.
Nice. All right. So here I have a situation very similar to yours. Really, a lot of our pictures I think will be kind of similar
Mhm.
because what we're showing you are wide windows with wide rods and draperies on each side or so. But this window, let's see, how wide is it? So the center window is probably about maybe 65, 70 inches. The side windows are probably about 30 to 40 windows, maybe 36. So this is about like 100 to 120 inch, so
Mhm.
10-foot expanse or so. To every point that Kim just said, anything that is over, in my case, we try not to ship anything that's over 8 feet. And that's the pushback that
Summer break.
summer break. Hold on a sec. Antosha, I'm live.
Sorry.
You're still on Alaska time.
I'm so this is what happens. This is live. And kids are on summer break and they're allowed. Okie doke. And kids are running right in front of me right now. Go away, guys. Come on. Okay. Anna just brought a bear. So this is something that we got on our Alaska cruise. So she wanted Bear to be part of our live today.
Hey, Bear.
Okay, Bear comes in here. Okay, so back to the topic at hand.
So you have this 10-foot expanse. You try not to order anything over 8 feet.
Thank you very much. Yes, so we would never order this rod, even though actually some of our vendors do have a rod that comes in 12-foot expanses. It is just not something that we try to ever order. I mean, unless maybe there's 1 or 2 or 5% of the time that is absolutely necessary. And I can't even think of a good reason right at this moment, but I'm sure there are because never say never. But in this situation, we ordered 2 6-foot rods. So there's a rod on one side and there's a 6-foot rod on the other side. We used this splice to connect them. So the rod went over the splice on this side, the rod went over the splice on this side, and there was a bracket right in the center. You can kind of see it there that cupped it at the bottom and is attached to the wall, and that's what's holding it up. So easy peasy. So the point to remember and the biggest takeaway when you have a wide window expanse, even though you are able to order the wide enough rod, before you place that order for a 10, 12, or more foot rodding, make sure that this is something that is shippable and is not going to cost you arm and a leg. And most importantly, make sure that you can get it into the building that you're trying to get into.
And think about it. If you're ordering a rod, because there are companies that do offer runs at 12 feet, that now requires another installer.
Yeah.
Because how is one installer going to carry a 12-foot tube or 12-foot rod into someone's home, again, carefully and smoothly without potentially damaging something? So
Yeah.
now you're going from something that is a one-man job to a
Mhm.
two-man job.
That's right. That's right. What Kim is referring to when you have to navigate the stairs, let's say you're installing something on the second floor in, let's say, a master bedroom, and you have to navigate the stairs, and the stairs usually have a turn. Sometimes they don't, but usually they do. And so with the 12-foot rodding one person, if you're in the center, I mean, it's like a spear. There's a part in the front and there's a part in the
6 feet
back.
in front of you and 6 feet behind you.
And surely you're going to nick the wall somewhere. So just have to be very careful about that. And that's what Kim is saying. If you want to be very careful about not nicking the wall anywhere, not damaging anything, not knocking off a glass vase or anything in something like that, you need two people to navigate it.
And then to take it a step further, sorry, another thing that I thought of, how about
Oh, it's
installing it?
good.
How about installing it?
So the way to install, you put up one bracket, you put up another bracket, and you actually, I mean, it's difficult, don't get me
Right.
wrong, and it's much better to have two people there. It's possible, but again, everything makes it a lot more challenging when it's over 8 feet wide, I would say.
It adds time. And
And it adds time.
time is money when it comes to this industry.
You are absolutely correct, my friend. All right.
Okay, so this is a project that we did for Orsino Interiors for Marine Orsino, and this is actually a French return rod that is spliced. So with a French return rod, you do need two people,
Yep.
particularly with this. It's a Helzer Brothers rod. So basically, the French return isn't like a bracket that gets added at the end.
Right.
It is basically one piece, and we do splice it in the middle for shipping. And so it does require two people for this. And we do this rod a lot. I love the Helzer Brothers French return rods. We use them all the time, multiple times a week, actually.
Really, that's interesting. We have not done a lot of French returns. We have done some definitely, but I wouldn't call it once
No,
or twice a week.
even their regular core line, their regular rod with rings, because
Yeah.
what I like is that their bracket to bracket expansion,
Mhm.
they can take a lot more weight than the average rod.
Oh,
So
interesting.
yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
Okay.
So they are a really good resource, and
They're a very good quality company.
yes, our installers love them.
Okay.
So yeah. So with this, it did come spliced in the middle because it was, and again, any rod over 104 has to be spliced. Anything under 104, they can send it in one piece.
Would you take it in one piece, Kim, or would you
At
splice it?
104, I would take that at one piece. Yeah.
Because you have two people installing it anyway.
With a French return, absolutely. Yeah.
That's right.
Especially because
Okay.
of this, because of the manner in which you have to install it. It
Right.
requires two people.
Right. That I understand. French returns. Maybe
Yeah.
we should do an episode just on French returns
Yeah.
to make people understand how French return versus regular bracket. Stephanie, if you're listening,
Yes.
write it down.
And because there's different types of French returns too. Like there's yes. So Steph, that's if you're
I'm
watching.
gonna make a note actually.
Yeah, we'll write that down. So yeah, so with this one, it just requires a center bracket. This was almost 12 foot wide, and that's what I love about this company is that you can go bracket to bracket up to 144 inches, especially even when you're doing operables. So that's a really cool thing. You don't have to have, you know, multiple brackets and the whole nine. But for this one, it was spliced in the middle. It comes already with the splice connection with it, and then Billy and
You
Carlos.
mean it is shipped with this splice?
I think
Or
so.
is it shipped like as two
No,
pieces?
it's shipped in two pieces, but I
Okay.
believe that the splice is already connected in the center. Like they already put it in
Okay.
for you. Yeah.
Into one piece.
hmm
Okay.
Yeah.
That's good.
So yeah, they're a really great company. If you haven't checked them out, I would suggest checking them out.
You know what? That's a really good point, even for me too. And this kind of goes to the fact that you guys, I mean, we're here giving you information, hopefully a little bit of inspiration too. And both Kim and I have done this for many years, but still, every day you learn something new. And right now, what I'm learning is I know Helsa Brothers. I've used them before, a very long time ago, but it has not been like a go-to vendor for us, like it has been for Kim. But hearing Kim talk about them and reminding me how good they are, what good quality they are, and also knowing some of the pain points that we're experiencing right now with our go-to hardware vendors, that's the one that I'm going to check out next. So
Yeah,
thank you for that reminder, honey.
they even have this particular rod is 1.25 inches diameter, but I have a bunch of designers that like, a thin rods.
Yeah, yeah,
So
we've been doing a lot of thin things.
they have a 7/8 inch diameter that they can do
Ah,
in
that's
French
interesting.
return, regular, and again, their bracket to bracket spacing is great. So when you like, yeah, so I use them a lot.
Good to know.
Even on the cafe curtains too. They're my go-to.
Interesting.
Mhm.
Okay, okay. Um, Price point wise, how do they
Um,
good, better, best, like on the best end?
they're on the best end. They're not like it's not you're not going like jab and all this super high end in terms of price point, but for what you're getting quality wise, I mean, we've been using them now for the last 5-ish years or
Mhm.
so, probably longer than that. And if it wasn't a good quality rod, Billy would have told me within the first 3 or 4 installs, stop selling
Right.
it. No more.
And here's the one thing that you guys, if you take nothing else from this episode, take this. You want to make your installer's life easy and good
Mhm.
and happy.
Yeah, they even have French return traversing rods. So if you have
French
clients who
return
doesn't,
traverse. Oh, cool.
yeah,
Okay.
so we need to do a whole episode on French return rods. I can talk
We
about
do.
that
And
in
you know what?
detail.
I also want to do an episode on traversing rods because that is one of our pain points right now.
Okay,
Traversing rods. Okay. I like how
idea.
we digress from splices. We
But
start with
see,
the
but
splice.
you get all these other additional nuggets.
All right. All right. Okay. So what do we have here? This is a project that we did for a wonderful designer. Her name is Anita Householder of House Edits. She is located in Montgomery County, not too far from us. We've done several projects for her in the last few years. And fun fact, I've mentioned it before and I will always mention it, that she found us through the podcast. So she listened to Luann's podcast and to our WTF series there, and she told me that she was always wanted to find someone like me, or like company like Vitalia Inc., kind of full service, full support of interior designers, and she wished that I were local. And then it kind of the light bulb went on. She's like, wait, she is local. So that's when she gave us a call. Anyway, this particular project is not local at all. What happens a lot of times here in Bucks, Montgomery counties, people have second homes down the shore, like South New Jersey shore. So this was, I want to say, Jersey City. No, not Jersey City. What am I saying? That's north. Um, Ocean City is what I'm trying
Mhm.
to say. But anyway, somewhere down there, and this is a very large expanse. So we have a door situation and then two stationary panels there. So this was, I want to say, probably 150 inches, maybe even upwards of 200, somewhere between
Mhm.
150 and 200 inches. And what you're seeing there are three brackets, three center brackets that you're seeing, and there's also two side brackets that you're not seeing behind the curtains. And at the very minimum, what we would have done here is splice the rod in the center, just like the previous picture. But it is also possible that there are 4 rods here that are 4-footers that are spliced at each point and connected and hidden by the bracket. So this is an example where instead of just a center splice, you can actually, depending on what kind of rodding you have, and what you're able to get and what is available to you, and for a myriad of other reasons where you could use splicing to your advantage. Now you can see that these that the brackets are positioned, the center is aligned with the door mullion, and the two side ones are not quite exactly aligned with the mullion, but they're equally spread onto the outside of each mullion there. So they're really nicely and evenly positioned. So just from the aesthetic standpoint, I think it looks really nice. And just from the making sure that you get the job done, sometimes that sort of takes over and trumps everything.
Yeah, I mean, we've had to because of everything going on. Um, sometimes when there aren't 6-foot rods available, you
That's
have to
right.
order 3, 4 48-inch rods, and
Exactly what
they're
I'm
just
talking
gonna
about.
splice them over here, or you got to get creative with the splices, or
That's
you
right.
know, it's
Especially when you know that you're going to be using additional brackets
yeah,
already, because to not have that second and fourth bracket would not be a possibility because the
right.
rod would start bowing. The expanse is too wide to not have those two center brackets. So we knew that we're going to use them anyway. And if that's what we're doing, and the 6 foot rod is not available, we felt comfortable with ordering 4 foot rods, knowing that we're going to be able to hide that seam with the bracket.
Yeah, we just ran into this situation where we did a wood pole, and they didn't have any more 8-foot wood poles.
Hmm.
So they said, "Can we send you 2 4-footers?" And I said, "Yeah, go
Yeah.
ahead, please. Is that gonna get it here, like, next week?" And they said, "Yeah." I'm
Hmm.
like, "Then
Great, that I will take it.
I will take it." It's a little bit
And
more
see, and I also want to mention that we're doing it to our own detriment because it is actually
more
uh,
time.
cheaper to more economical, I should say. It's more economical to order in one 8 foot pole than to order two 4 foot poles. However, we're also trying to be in service to the project. And if ordering, waiting, and saving money, if you will, for the 8 foot pole, and that's going to take you into 2 months lead time or longer, and the 4 foot pole comes in right now, thinking in service to the client and in service to the project, we would place the order right away, even though it is financially not beneficial to us. But from the time standpoint, that's what the client would want, so that's what we would do.
Yeah, I am actually ran into a situation where I ordered 3 6-foot poles that were splicing together,
Mhm.
and one vendor did not have this is just so you can see, this is a splice for a regular round rod with rings. This is a track splice.
Oh, that's a good idea, Kim. Good for
Yeah.
you for
Yeah.
bring it down for Facebook. Bring it down a little. Yeah.
So this
Yep.
is a track splice. So basically when you have a decorative traversing rod,
Hmm.
do it like this. This is the kind of splice that you need. So my one vendor, um, I think I depleted them because I placed like 15 orders over the weekend, and I was like, oh, splice, splice, splice. And then Monday I had to finish, and I was like, oh, okay, great. I need like 7 splices for this project. And they're like out of stock. And I was like, I did that.
Yeah,
Sorry,
you know what,
everybody.
Kim? Next time I place an order and it's out of stock, I'm gonna blame WinterWorks.
I was like, that was me. So then I had to call Billy and I said, hey, company A is out of splices. Can I order 7 splices from company B? Will it fit? And he was like, yes, they will fit. So it's like knowing where now the splice from company B is a little bit more money. And because I'm only ordering 7 splices, the freight, like it's just silly, but it's like, okay, you got to do what you got to do to get the job installed, to get it
That's right.
done. Cause he's like, I might have some splices in inventory. I was like, you have 7? And he's like, no, I don't have 7. I have maybe like 2. And I was like,
Two.
then
Right,
we
right.
need 7.
Yeah. Now, that splice. Talk to us. For the traverse rod, it goes on top of the rod instead of
Yes.
inside. It goes on top. Talk to us about that.
So, well, actually, because of the way I don't have a piece of track with me, but you actually don't see it. It actually goes inside the traverse rod, the decorative
Oh,
traverse rod.
we've put it on top.
I know it because I'm looking at one that we have here and you can't see it because there's 2 grooves.
Hmm.
Like, well, there's a groove at the top that you can't really see. But so yeah, you're probably gonna see like this piece here,
Hmm.
and then like that goes in because like it goes basically where um like the bracket gets screwed in over the top.
Hmm.
So that's where it goes. But and this one is a little longer than the average, which I like because sometimes it's a little shorter. They'll
Mm-hmm.
send it like this big, but
Right.
this one's pretty sturdy and pretty solid. So that's why
Hmm.
they're a little bit more expensive. And for
Mm.
this particular project, because our run is about 220 inches,
Wow.
yeah, and it's a double rod situation,
Hmm.
that's why I need
Of
3
course.
splices, and
Yep.
then we're also doing something in the primary bedroom that's 10 feet that I needed another splice. I'm not
Hmm.
mad that I had to spend an extra couple of dollar bills for it because
That's right.
I feel like this splice is just a little bit more, substantial. So
Hmm.
sometimes we do that. We do
Yeah.
order parts from another like, if we like the particular vendor, we will order parts from vendor whatever
Hmm.
to
Hmm.
just say, "You know what? This works better and it fits."
Yeah.
And it's
I will
knowing the yeah.
tell you a little secret too. So there have been times where you realize on site that either your splice doesn't fit or you forgot to order a splice and you need it. So the little life hack is we would take a basic L bracket
Mhm.
and we would cut it off. So it's just the top portion is we
Yeah.
would just be using the top portion, and we will put it on top of the
Yeah.
rod. And that's how it would be connected together. The only problem there, the top mounted bracket no longer fits onto the splice.
Yeah.
So we have to make it very small and use two brackets on the side of the splice.
Yeah. It's
So not exactly ideal situation, but on balance between leaving the install and having to come back and all sorts of repercussions there and getting it done and it's still looking fine and good, I picked the latter.
yeah. And there's also, I know we don't have a slide on this, but I've gotten asked this a couple times. There is no splice for an acrylic rod.
Ah, yes, good point.
So we had you can splice a wood rod, which is basically it's usually just like a two-sided screw. These two splices that we have here, but when it comes to an acrylic rod, there is no splice. You can't splice an acrylic rod because you just can't. So you join them
So use a
together.
lot of brackets.
Yeah, you join them together at brackets, and I've done it before where we've done like a 300-foot run, like a whole wall to wall in a living room or in a great
Yeah,
room. It
yeah.
can be done.
Mhm.
You have to be very
Precise.
precise on where your bracket placement is going.
And how do you secure it in the bracket?
There is a little Allen key in the back, like a little screw that
Yeah.
you can
So you
screw.
just tighten it.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
it gets tightened, but yeah,
So
there's
you just
no
have to make sure that your brackets have that little screw
mhm.
because not every bracket has it.
No. And again, acrylic rods aren't meant for operable. So when you're going that wide with that many brackets, you're not moving it. So stop. Um,
Although, they do make acrylic rings for acrylic rods.
yes. And
So
I
just
did,
have to be very careful. I guess what we're telling you guys, anything is possible. You can do whatever you want, but be very, very careful.
yeah. So there is no splice. There is no like, you know, tight splice for an acrylic rod. So I
Yep,
just wanted
I
to,
gotcha. All right. Oh, let's talk about high rises.
yes, shall we? So,
Shall
and
we?
I alluding to before at the beginning of the episode, we often we are in and out of New York, Brooklyn, all the boroughs, and Jersey City, Hoboken, you name it. And oftentimes we have to deal with service elevators, like what you're seeing here is the pretty everyone elevator, but your installer is not going in this pretty elevator. 9 times out of 10, they're going into a service elevator that is pretty tiny. And I ask designers all the time. I go, Is there a way that we can go and take a look at this that I
That's
could
right.
put eyeballs on the service elevator
That's
to
right. Same.
measure?" Um, and this way I know how big of a rod I can get up into the elevator. So
Yep.
that's I often sometimes will argue with my hardware department, with the gentlemen that make my non-decorative rods from Kirsch. They'll be
Uh-huh.
like, "Are you sure you want to splice this? With this splice in the middle, it might get stuck." And I'm like, "It's a center
It fits
splice.
center.
Like, I get it. It's not ideal, but again, I'm going into a high rise. I have no choice. I can't walk this up to the 60th floor of this building, in the Wall Street district. Please. I have already considered this. I've had multiple conversations with Billy. We will make it work." So it's just these are the things that you have to think about because some elevators won't let you do anything wider than 10 feet, and that's
That's
on
right.
an angle.
Right. So we run into the very similar situation here in the
Mhm.
Philadelphia, in city of Philadelphia, where you have these high rises, where you have the uh, uh, freight elevators. Do not look that pretty at all. And to your point, Kim, the longest, I also always make sure that I go down there and that measure. I specifically measure angle to angle. So it's like the diagonal. So this is as big of an expanse of the rod that you can fit in. Now, some little life hack is there's usually like a trap door at the top of the elevator. So we have done on a couple of occasions, open the door and stuck the rod through that hole, and as the elevator rides up, you just like hoping and praying that when it stops, you're not like on the last floor first of all, and that when it stops, like it doesn't hit anything. But that's, you know, that's something that I would recommend, honestly. So the best way is to make sure that it fits diagonally from corner to corner in the elevator.
Yeah.
And then another thing we've done is, if it doesn't fit into the elevator, and we can use this like the back staircase, and that is to lift. The rods are usually pretty thin, so multiple people situation where somebody's at the bottom and somebody's at the top, and you kind of like string the rod through like between the staircases, right between the banisters, and you kind of like try to lift it up, but then it becomes difficult and tricky at the floor where you're at to like pull it onto that floor and not have to hit anything, and for it to, you know, make that turn. So all of the like turns and twists and corners in the high rises are really, really tricky. So if you guys are working in any kind of metropolitan area and are faced with these situations, think about them 100, you know, definitely think about all of it when you place your hardware order, and when you sell the hardware, when you tell them, oh yeah, there's a beautiful window with a beautiful view of the city that is, I don't know, 20 feet wide, we can totally do it and it will be one piece. No, it can't, and it shouldn't, and you don't want it to be.
Yeah, we run into this all the time with roller shades.
Yeah, that as well. Yeah, that's a tough one.
Oof, there's no choice. Like, I'm just like, you're beat. You have to cut it in half. I'm sorry.
Right. There's no way. I'm not fishing that one or hoisting that one up 22 stories.
No.
Oh, Kim, who would have known that the topic of splices, it can be so exciting that we can be talking for over half an hour about it.
Exactly. Alrighty, everyone. Well, we hope you enjoyed today's episode on drapery hardware splices. Out of it, we've obviously got a couple of other episodes that we are going to be talking about, other top drapery hardware topics, my favorite. But before we let you go, if you are new to the window treatment, custom window treatments.
And from Vitalia Inc., we also have a pre-gift for you. It is a curated lookbook filled with inspiration and education, and you can get yours at vitaliainc.com.
And it is summertime, so if you are thinking about buying an awning and you don't know where to start, head on over to the WindowWorks website and download your free ebook, 5 Mistakes to Avoid When Buying a Quality Awning.
And for all things Luann Nigara,
head on over to luannigara.com, where you can listen to the audio version of Window Treatment Friday Live and whatever podcast episodes that Luann has going on right now, and whatever speaking engagements, because the lady is a busy lady, that she might have going on. Head on over to luannigara.com so you can keep up with Luann.
And one of the things that she is so busy with is the second podcast that she started. So her first one is A Well-Designed Business, where this WTF series first appeared, and from which Kim and I got an inspiration to do the live version of it. And Luann's second podcast is called Window Treatments for Profit, in which I have the honor and the privilege of being a regular host of my own series, which I call Vita's Tip in 10. It airs every Thursday. So whatever app you listen to your podcast on, make sure to download a Window Treatment for Profit and check out Vita's Tip in 10 every Thursday morning.
All right. And if you are in the New Jersey or New York area, or if you are a designer from out of town and have a project in this area and you need help on spliced hardware or anything like that, please give us a call. We would be happy to help you on your next window treatment or awning project.
And if you are in the Philadelphia area, we would love to be that partner for you. We are a one-stop shop, your go-to concierge level, white glove level service exclusively for interior designers, ready to fly first class in the world of custom window treatments. So DM, PM, give me a call or email us, and we would love to support you on your next project.
Alrighty, everyone. Well, that concludes today's episode number 102 of Spliced Drapery Hardware. Thank you so much for joining us. We hope you join us next week. And every Friday at 9 a.m. because if it's Friday.
It is WTF. It is Window Treatment Friday Live.
Thank you, everyone, and have a great weekend.
Thank you. Bye-bye. See you next Friday.